What if I told you that some of the most unstoppable players to ever touch a basketball were short enough to look you dead in the eye? We always talk about the giants, the 7-footers, the freaks of nature, but this list is for the little guys who refuse to be told no. 10 guards, all 6'1" or under. One of them dropped 25 points in a single quarter in the finals on a broken ankle. One of these guys changed what the NBA looked like forever. And one of them is currently still playing in the playoffs right now, leading his team in the NBA Finals. This is the definitive ranking of the greatest small guards in NBA history. Stats, rings, impact, and culture. And number 3, it's going to start a war in the comments. Let's count it down. Number 10, Damon Stoudemire. We start with Mighty Mouse. Damon Stoudemire came into the league in 1995 and immediately won Rookie of the Year, averaging 19 points, 9 assists at 5'10". The man had no business being that good at first. He became the face of the brand new Toronto Raptors. He dropped 30-point games like it was nothing and proved a guard under 6 foot could be the centerpiece of an NBA team. The goggles, the handle, the fearlessness. Not the most decorated guy on the list, but you don't talk about little guards who changed the game without Mighty Mouse Damon Stoudemire. At number 9, we have Isaiah Thomas at 5'9". Not that Isaiah Thomas. We'll get to him later. This is the 5'9" scoring volcano. In the 2016-17 season, Isaiah Thomas averaged 28.9 points per game for the Boston Celtics and finished 5th in MVP voting. As a 5'9" guy, they called him the king in the fourth quarter because in crunch time, he was completely unstoppable. He did it through personal tragedy and a hip injury that would eventually wreck his career. But for one season, Isaiah Thomas was one of the best 5 players on the entire planet at 5'9". The peak was as high as any small guard had ever reached. That's why he's here at number 9. At number 8, we have Calvin Murphy standing at 5'9". Now we go old school. Calvin Murphy is a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest pure scorers under 5'10". He played for 13 seasons, all with the Houston Rockets. He once shot 95.8% from the free throw line for an entire season, a record that stood for over a decade. Murphy was fearless. He drive straight into the trees, take on guys a foot taller, and score in bunches. At 5'9" and 165 pounds, he made the Hall of Fame in 1993. Proof that if you can flat out score, height is just a number. At number 7, we have Nate Tiny Archibald, standing at 6'1". Now, here's a record that will probably never be broken. In the 1972-1973 season, Nate Tiny Archibald led the entire NBA in both scoring and assists in the same year. He averaged 34 points a game, 11.4 assists a game. No player in NBA history before or since has ever done both in one season. Tiny was 6'1" and 150 pounds soaking wet. A Hall of Famer, 6-time All-Star, and an NBA champion with the 1981 Celtics. They didn't call him Tiny because it was a joke. They called him Tiny because he was really small and still better than everyone else on the floor. He was one of the most unguardable guards in NBA history, period. At number 6, we have Bob Cousy, standing at just 6'1". Now, you cannot make this list without an originator. Bob Cousy was throwing behind-the-back passes and no-look dimes in the 1950s when everyone else was playing chest-pass basketball. He was the first showman, the first true floor general. He was the blueprint for what every guard after him would be. 6 championships with the Boston Celtics, an MVP, 13-time All-Star appearances. He led the league in assists 8 straight years. They called him the Houdini of the hardwood. Without Cousy, there's no modern point guard. He invented the position as we know it. You gotta respect the foundation. At number 5, we have John Stockton, standing at 6'1". Now, Stockton was the most durable, most consistent, most fundamentally perfect small guard who ever lived. John Stockton was the NBA all-time leader in assists at 15,806 and the all-time leader in steals with 3,265. Both records, both his, both may never be broken. Now, Chris Paul spent 20 years chasing him, and his number still sits at number 2 at both. 10-time All-Star, he ran the pick and roll with Karl Malone to absolute perfection for almost 2 decades and barely missed a game. The only thing missing was a ring, but statistically, he's probably the most accomplished small guard in NBA history. At number 4, we have Chris Paul, standing at 6 foot. The point guard. Chris Paul is the closest thing we've seen to John Stockton since Stockton himself. Number 2 all-time in both assists and steals. behind only Stockton himself. He led the league in steals 6 times. He's an 11-time All-NBA player and a 12-time All-Star. CP3 is a masterclass in controlling a basketball game. The mid-range, the pace, the way he manipulates the pick and roll. Nobody his size has combined that level of skill with that level of longevity. 20 years and he's still going. Same knock as Stockton, no ring, but as a pure point guard, Chris Paul is top tier of all time at any height. At number 3, we have the king of New York, Jalen Brunson, 6'1". Okay, here it is, the pick that's going to blow up the comments. I have Jalen Brunson at number 3. And I need you to hear me out before you start typing. Because look what's happening right now. This postseason, Jalen Brunson dragged the New York Knicks all the way to the NBA Finals. Their first Finals appearance in 27 years. He was named Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He posted the best 9-game playoff stretch plus minus in NBA history. He's averaging nearly 28 points a game in the playoffs, closing out games like it's nothing. They don't call him Captain Clutch and the King of New York for fun. He took the biggest market in the sport, a franchise that had been a punchline for a generation, and made the Knicks must-watch television again. That's not numbers on the stat sheet. That's a 6'1" guard bending an entire league around him in real time. Now, is there some recency bias? Sure, maybe a little bit, but his resume isn't as long as Stockton's or Chris Paul's, not yet, but what Brunson is doing at this exact moment, at his size, in New York, on the way to the finals, by the time this run is over, number 3 might look like a steal. So go ahead, tell me I'm wrong, but I'll be right there in the comments waiting. At number 2, we have Allen Iverson, standing at 6 foot. The answer. Allen Iverson is the most influential small guard who ever lived. An MVP, Rookie of the Year, 4-time scoring champion, 11-time All-Star. He dragged a mediocre 2001 Sixers team all the way to the NBA Finals, almost entirely by himself. And during that finals run, he stole a game from the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, scoring over 40 points in Game 1. But Iverson was bigger than just basketball. The cornrows, the tattoos, the sleeve, the crossover that put Jordan on his skates. He brought hip-hop culture straight into the NBA and changed what the entire league looked like. Kids didn't just want to play like AI. They wanted to be AI. At 6 feet, 165 pounds, he took more punishment than anyone on this list and never backed down once. Pound for pound, one of the toughest players in NBA history. Now, he's at number 2, and there's only one guy ahead of him. Number 1, Isaiah Thomas, standing at 6'1". Zeke, the greatest small guard in NBA history. And it comes down to one word: winning. Isaiah Thomas is a 2-time NBA champion, a Finals MVP, and a 12-time All-Star who led the bad boy Detroit Pistons through the most brutal era in the league has ever seen. He had to get past Larry Bird's Celtics, Magic's Lakers, and Michael Jordan's Bulls, and he beat all of them. He might be the only player ever that could say that. The signature moment, the 1988 NBA Finals, Game 6. He scored 25 points in the third quarter on a severely sprained ankle, barely able to walk, and almost won the title on one leg. One of the toughest performances in NBA Finals history. He had the flash of Cousy, the toughness of Iverson, and the one thing the other legends on this list couldn't claim: rings. Multiple. At 6'1", Isaiah Thomas proved a little man could be the best player on a championship team. Not once, but twice. Now that's the greatest small guard in NBA history. So that's the list. Zeke at 1, AI at 2, and Brunson at 3. I already know what's one thing you're fired up about. So tell me, who did I rank too high? Who did I disrespect? And where does Brunson really belong? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If you're new here, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment. We do NBA history breakdowns and lists just like this one every single week. Stay tuned. I'll see you later.